Coach Gilardi, thanks once again for taking the time out just to chat with us. We really appreciate it. And obviously, there's a lot to discuss. First things first, last time we were speaking, it was heading into a big weekend, your final three games technically. And for the team going to big battles against UMBC and Vermont. And after going on a 7-game winning streak, the best of the conference, the team dropped this last 2 games. So what kind of went wrong for the team in those close contests where they weren't able to get the upper hand in either game?
I think there were battles. I mean, they're good teams. I mean, they're 1-goal games. Obviously, we lose one in overtime. We lose one at the buzzer. And I think that's something that throughout the game, you could pick 15, 20 plays that, really changed the game. I think in the UMBC game, we came out really flat, and we didn't have a great week of practice. And I think that was really the most disappointing thing going into the game. We didn't have a great week of practice, and we played like we practiced for the first half, and then we were able to make a run there. But credit to UMBC, they made the plays, and we were in position to make plays, and we didn't. That's part of athletics, right? You got to make the play when it's presented to you. Well, and the Vermont game was just a battle. I mean, that was a true battle. The face-off we knew going in was going to be a struggle. Brook is the best in the conference by far, and we battled a little bit. We did some good stuff on the wings to steal some possessions, but in that it's all about efficiency, right? You got to get stops because they're going to have the ball more than us, and then when we have it, we got to finish it, right? And I think that's where we get a stop, we turn it over on a clear, they score that possession. After redefending. We get the ball in transition, we throw it. The other team, they pick the ball off, they go down in that possession and score. And those are 2 huge plays in a 1-goal game. Besides obviously the last play there at the end, but that's just part of it.
Coach,
Yep.
Do you feel that over those 2 games that they dictated the tempo more than you did?
I think they're 2 different styles, right? UMBC definitely. We knew what they were going to do, and I think that they wear you down, right? And it's like it's like a boxer just taking body blows, and you got to be disciplined to stay locked in, and we didn't do that in the beginning, and then we go on a run, we score 4 in a row, and then you kind of lose focus defensively because now we had the ball the whole first quarter, but then it became a back and forth game, right? So, as much as we like to play faster. It comes down, if you're not making clean saves and you're not clearing the ball quickly, it's tough to play transition and play fast. And then if you're playing, 78 seconds of defense every single possession, you got to rest those guys, right? It's team lacrosse, not just, hey, how many goals we can score. So I think that's part of it. I think Vermont is going to dictate the terms because they win every faceoff. That's the reality. They have the ball, and they don't play slow by any means. But they have the ball. We're up 3 goals, and you don't feel like you can have a big enough lead because they can win 7 straight faceoffs like that. And then next thing you know, you're sitting there like, all right, what happened here? So I think that was a big part of it is, we can win a fast game, we can win a slow game, but in those 2 games, we just didn't make enough plays.
Most of the year, you guys have dominated on the faceoff stuff. So Vermont might have been a little bit of a revelation to the guys. And naturally, when you're not winning faceoffs, you have to force turnovers. Is that the sort of thing you have to reinforce to the guys facing them again?
I think it's more of, we're not a team that extends out and tries to put the ball on the ground a ton. That's just not our DNA. You just got to get stops, right? And we've gotten stops the majority of the year, and they're going to hit great shots. They're talented offensive players, and it comes down to being efficient. That's really what we talked about. We knew going in the field, the time of possession was going to be tilted potentially, and in the third quarter, we had the ball a ton and we scored. In the fourth quarter, they had the ball a ton and they scored, right? And that's 2 good offensive teams. Anthony Palmer makes 15 saves, and I think it came down to there was a lot of the goals were on the doorstep and there's nothing he can do, and I think that's the big thing. There's a couple of outside shots he probably wants back, but he also stole a couple that he shouldn't have had. So I think for us, it's just the efficiency piece of when you have the ball, you got to take care of it. You got to clear it and you got to get good shots to win those games.
One of the great things, of course, about tournament lacrosse is that you're facing teams that you faced recently. You're facing Vermont 2 in a row. If you progress, you could possibly face UMBC, which we played 2 weeks ago. So what do you do now? What kind of adjustments do you make in terms of getting, first of all, trying to seize the tempo back and also adjusting to their game?
Well, I think for us too, as a staff, it's great to see them up in person once. I think that that to me was the toughest thing going in is we don't, like I said, I don't know any of the players really on a lot of the teams, especially Vermont. I think I knew one kid, Brock Haley, 11, that actually knew what he looked like because we recruited him when I was at Towson. So it's great to see those guys and then just see the coaches, see how they coach in the moment, the adjustments they made. That's part of the process, so the learning process of a new coaching staff is you kind of seeing, when we adjust this way, what do they do? So I think we saw their game plan on how to attack us because that was a big game. I mean, if you look at, kind of reminded me of the time the Giants, the Patriots played that last regular season game. Both teams were playing to win the game. I mean, there was no team like, hey, we're just going to – I mean, we went at them with everything we had and threw some adjustments at them and wrinkles, and they did the same to us. And this was not a, hey, we know we're going to probably play each other because UMBC is going to win in a game. Let's hold stuff back. I mean, that was not part of it. So I think that's huge for us to see their plan. And yeah, we made some mistakes that they took advantage of. And conversely, they made mistakes that we took advantage of. So we got to continue to make mistakes.
The funny thing about that game you referred to specifically, because I covered it, the great thing about it was that when the Giants and Patriots met again in the Super Bowl, nobody thought the Patriots had a cakewalk based on that game, based on the challenge. Even though the Giants didn't win that game, they scared them.
Exactly. I was there. I still remember it. I was in the stands.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think that's what, that we were never in a position to be like, hey, we're gonna pump the brakes and we're gonna win the game, right? And whoever got to be co-champs in the league. We knew that was on the table as well. But it was great to play him. And again, we got things that we got to continue to update and we got to go from.
Yeah, something I want to touch back on something you said earlier, especially referring to the Vermont game, but it goes for the NBC game as well, was that it really was a game of runs. Looking at the summary, Vermont started off with 3 goals, and then Stony Brook responded quickly, getting 3 goals to tie the game in 4 minutes. And then Vermont scored another 3, and then both teams will trade off goals for the remainder of the game. So, you're really, especially with this team, Stony Brook, you're looking at a team where offensively they could score and score quick. But as you said, defensively, they're out there a lot. And obviously, it wears down on the defense. And that's how a team like Vermont, you can see, is able to rack up so many goals in succession. So how do you, especially as a coach, try to find and instill that balance on your team?
It comes down to, again, understanding it's team lacrosse, right? It's when we have the ball, there's times we got to push, right? And that's part of playing. We have good attack when we want to try and score unsettled. There's times when it may look good, and you got to pull it out and possess it, right? And you got to grind a team down and play, and I think that's something as our maturity of being able to push without just kind of going reckless and playing good team lacrosse. And there's times where you got to take advantage of when you have it. So I think we're always trying to kind of teeter that line of being aggressive offensively and being smart that if we turn it over or he makes a quick save, we're playing defense again, especially a team like UMBC where it's going to be 80 seconds. Right, Vermont, they're going to play fast, but they could score. You could lose the faceoff. They could score again. You could lose the face. I mean, it could be 6 times before you see the ball. So that's where the efficiency piece that we just continue to talk about is when you have it, you got to value it. You got to know you just can't be reckless.
And speaking of the Vermont game, could you take us through the final 30 seconds where you guys have have possession, and then ultimately Holland finds Piquel, tie game. 8 seconds later, quote unquote, because there's a shot clock malfunction, or their clock malfunction, the face-off, Liam wins the face-off and takes us in that scores. So could you take us through that? Kind of what are your feelings towards that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think they had the ball with 2 minutes left. They called timeout. We went out there and played base defense. We said, hey, you just got to get stopped defensively, and then we're going to come down. If they go man or zone, Coach Chatty had those guys, have our checklist for either or. Coach Brazel talked those guys through. Hey, we just need one stop, and then we got to clear because we had no timeouts left. And those guys did it. I mean, we got 3 shots, I think, in that possession, 3 or 4 shots before we scored. So we were, juiced up the guys again. And I always say this at the end of a game in overtime, you got to play team offense. You can't. No superhero plays win it for us the way we play. So we went down there to face off. We said, hey. Austin already had 2 procedures, so we're like, just don't jump because we don't want them to go man up to start the second half because their man up is very talented. He played prevent defense at the faceoff X. They came down. I mean, we saw the clock not running instantly, and we're trying to get the refs' attention, but no one wanted to hear it. And you got to play through the whistle, right? That's part of being a lacrosse player. They make a great play. I mean, the kid dives, one-handed pass to a behind-the-back shot. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's everyone makes mistakes.
You talk about guys being able to make plays, and you have so many options on the offense. Palinelli could step up and do it. Vaughn, all these guys, all the attackmen, all the midfielders. And is it trying to get phrases correctly?
Would you rather have one guy who can do it, or a lot of guys that may be able to do it?
Well, that's the thing. The thing about it is that do you find yourself in a situation where the guys can possibly be too unselfish? They see an opportunity and pass instead of take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got guys that are aggressive enough, and we've done a good job kind of saying, what are we looking for in the moment, right? And there's times where you got to be super aggressive, and there's times when you got to be disciplined, right? And to have 6 guys on the field that can score is very unique, right? And I think with that, it's tough to stop, right? And I think that's why even in the games we lost, we got good looks. The 2 times we lose in overtime to UMBC, we had really good looks. We just didn't
get true.
So it's not like that's hurt us as much. And it also helps because they can't just key on one guy. Similar to them. I mean, they're a talented team offensively. We can't just hey, if we take one guy out, someone else is going to score goals, right? So I think that to us is we got to still play team offense and make a good lacrosse play, and you got to finish it, right? And then that's what we've talked about, this week is you have to make the play when it's presented to you, right? And in these losses and 1-goal games, again, it comes down to a play in the first quarter maybe that eventually affects the game. But it's in the moment, you have to make the play. And right now in the playoffs, it's no more real than that. In the moment, you make the play, you either win and stay or you lose and go home.
Yeah, that obviously high pressure too. And again, going up against a Vermont team where numbers don't tell the whole story, but when you compare it to the UMBC game last time out, Stony Brook, numbers wise, had the advantage against UMBC. They just didn't win the game. Here in Vermont, Vermont outshot Stony Brook. They've scooped in more ground balls, perfect on the clear, obviously won the faceoff battle. I mean, things like that where they really controlled the game, especially running it through David Klosterman, who had double hat trick, 9 of the 14 points for Vermont. What do you tell your team in that sense for them to come in and enter the playoff tournament, kind of putting everything behind them?
Yeah, I think the stats. I mean, you look at the UMBC game, we dominated all the stats and lost the game, right? The stats to me aren't a huge deal of it, right? They won every faceoff in those 30 faceoffs, so they're gonna win the ground balls there, right? That's the reality of life. There's just not enough ground balls in the play. It's just in the moment, make the plays, right? And that's what we've talked about. If we can fix 4 or 5 things defensively, I mean, and the mistakes we made were just mental mistakes because in the moment we didn't make the play. I mean, we had a much better week of practice this week than we did the week before, and we just got to be able to make the play, and it's whether they have the ball or not. When the ball crosses the midfield line in the defensive half, our focus is get a stop and clear it. When the ball crosses the ball at the offensive stop, it's get a high quality shot and finish it. That's really all we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm curious on that. You tell that they're having a better week of practice. What do you think has been off with the team the past couple of weeks?
I really, it's a long season, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. Playing teams twice, you play NJT twice, you play UMBC twice. I mean, you know each other. Senior week, there's a lot of things we can make excuses for, but we talk about it all the time. I mean, especially after last year, you got to take advantage of every day, and I don't think we did that the week of UMBC. Next week, we had a good week of practice, which gave us an opportunity to win the game. But in the moment, players got to make plays, right? Coaches win Monday through Thursday. And, Friday's a walkthrough. Players got to win the game on Saturday. So we got to give them the confidence on Thursday that we've made the right adjustments. We have a great plan. Now, in the moment, they got to make the plays.
Yeah, and for Stony Brook especially, looking at all the talent of the team, we've been praising it all year. With the conference awards coming up, there's going to be a lot of Seawolves awarded, especially Dylan Palinelli, who's a shoo-in for the Rookie of the Year award, winning it the most times in conference history. He's played phenomenally. So many offensive threats like Vangenhoven, Piquel Jr., McCannell maybe, Tom Hahn, so many guys there. How proud are you of this team, especially in your first season, where they've really lived up to kind of that offense you envisioned for the team?
Yeah, we're excited where we're at. The awards are great because they kind of are accolades from other coaches, right? We can't vote for our own players. We just can nominate them. So it's great to see your players be viewed like that of other coaches. But, I mean, for us, it's a team game, and our focus is winning 2 games. That's the number one thing we're talking about. And if we do that, Guys who don't get all conference, they won't think twice about it. And guys that do won't think twice about that either. So we got to find a way to win this one to give us a chance to play on Saturday morning.
We keep talking about this every week because the Ivies are out. There could be more at-large bids available, and the respect the America East has gotten in the polls. Is it possible? Is it possible the two finalists could end up going?
I don't know. I would say it's doubtful. I think anything's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think there wasn't enough meat on the bone at a conference for our league.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't enough teams played non-league games. Obviously us, Vermont, Albany lost to Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth place team in the ACC is going to get in over one of us. But I mean, we know coming in, and especially with the schedule we were forced to play, we got to win 2 games, right? And the guys have known that. We've talked about that from the beginning. I mean, as competitive people, all you want is a chance. You got a chance to right a wrong is what we talk about from Saturday. If we can right that wrong on for Thursday, a chance to win it on Saturday is all you can ask for.
Yeah, and again, focusing back on the Vermont game, David Klosterman really dominated. So how do you prevent him from racking up so many points against your team and your defense?
Oh, he's a good player. I mean, they have good players. I mean, if it's not him, it's somebody else. I mean, they're like us. They have a lot of talented guys out there. Their attack, they're all really talented, and they play well together. He happened to be the guy that made some really good plays. I mean, the diving plays, one-handed goal. I mean, we got to eliminate some of those highlight reel goals, some of those plays that you hope can't happen 2 weeks in a row. But good players are going to make plays, right? It's like in basketball. You can play great defense, and a guy can hit a great shot. It's the same thing in lacrosse. You can play good defense, and a kid can make a highlight reel behind the back shot or a garbage goal or something. So it's just, for us, is just trying to lock in on the things we can control, and hopefully that's winning the game.
What is your plan to challenge Ryan Cornell? He only needed 7 saves. The team got 20 shots on goal because Vermont controlled the ball for most of the game. Ended up with 42 shots.
Yeah, I mean, I think shots are – I know those games we had a ton of them. It comes down to how many go in the back of the net, and we talk about every time we get it, earn a high-quality shot. And if we have 20 shots and 18 of them go in, that's a great day, right? So we're not worried about getting more shots or less shots. We're just worried about earning high-quality shots and putting them away. And he's a solid goalie, and we feel like if we can get the shots we want to get, our shooters can hopefully bury him again.
Yeah, with the lineup you're putting out now, especially, you feel confident that the lineup we saw last time out is what we're going to see in this game against Vermont? You don't see any major personnel changes?
No, we're rolling with the guys that got us here.
One thing, we're talking about guys making plays, and Dylan Palinetti, of course, is probably one of your most talented players. You have so many options, one-on-one against somebody. Is there more pressure on him if he gets the ball? He's got to create something.
I think that's a good question. I think Dylan puts a lot of pressure on himself to be great. I think the coaches, we expect him to play well and make plays. I think his teammates do. But, I mean, for the most part, he's playing within what we ask him to do, what the offense gives him. Now, with that, the offense is tailored to him having more opportunities than most guys, right? Because we think he's that talented. So, I mean, there's moments in time when we look at him and like, you got to make a play here. And I'll be the first to admit that. I said that to him in the huddle. Before he scored one of his first goals. It was like, you got to step up and start making plays. And he did. And he responds. I think that's the thing, that he is a kid, like I've said from day one, he works hard in practice every day. He plays a ton of reps in practice to prepare himself to play on game day. So he expects a lot of himself, and we expect him to make plays on game day.
And he led the team in points, hat trick. I led the team with the hat trick and 5 points in total, obviously. Leading the team, I think, in goals, assists, and points, which is just freaking insane essentially as a rookie, as a freshman. How proud are you, especially of him? He's going to win the Rookie of the Year award. How proud are you of him and his growth from the first time you met him on campus and his first practice to today?
Oh, extremely proud. Again, like I said, it's the points and those things are things that happen, but it's just his work ethic every day in practice. And then he's getting beat up in practice. We ask him to take a lot of a beating in games. And, I think the best part for us as coaches is, I mean, he has so much room to grow, to be even better, right? And there's so many things that when the season's over, hopefully in a few weeks, we're able to sit down and say, we got to work on these things to take the next step, because I really don't think he's even close to the potential that he has, and I think that's the biggest thing for him, is he knows that, and he's hungry to keep going.
Matt,
Nope, I'm good.
I'll wrap up a couple more questions. Firstly, Ozzy,
Yeah.
coming into the tournament, could you explain kind of like your week, because everything's really crunched up and focused now to Thursday and potentially Saturday. So could you kind of give us like a Cliff Notes version of what your week looks like from after last game to opening face-off on Thursday's game?
Yeah, after the game, obviously we're watching the film on the bus and taking notes. I'm talking as a coaching staff on the bus as we're heading back down. Off Sunday, yesterday was our first day of practice. And again, we're playing a team that we just played and prepared a week for. So it's what are the things we can do better based on now seeing their personnel, seeing how they're going to attack us, seeing the adjustments they made, and what are the adjustments we can make? How can we play better? We had a good practice yesterday. We'll watch some film and get back out to practice today. It'll be a little bit longer. It's like a Thursday on a work week for us. Then tomorrow we'll do a little pregame practice here, and then head on the bus at 11 and get down to Maryland. Hang out in the hotel, eat a team meal. Unfortunately, separately in our rooms, but we'll at least be together. And then Thursday morning we'll do a shoot around at UMBC. Just kind of get the bus out of us, get the night out of us, start getting the excitement starting to build. We'll do a team meal and then face off at 4. So, I mean, it's condensed, but we're used to it, especially when you just play the team. I mean, it's both teams are familiar with each other. I mean, you don't need another week to get after it.
What is that
When
excitement?
it brings up a good question. When the semifinal matchups are determined, obviously it's seeding, but the 1 versus the 4, how do you determine who plays when?
The number 1 seed gets the pick.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So they picked 1 o'clock.
Ideally, you want to play the early game, right? The earlier the better, and then you can scout the next game. As opposed to us, we're gonna, we are allowed to live scout for the tournament, so we can go and you got to kind of watch both teams. So it's a little bit different of that. So we're trying to see and then worry about your game. So they pick it, it is what it is.
Yeah, that leads to my next question is, what is the pressure there, especially for you, someone who's been Nazi associate coach at Towson, now entering your first conference tournament as the head coach?
I don't think anything really changes. I think my expectation is the same it was as a coach, as an assistant coach, is do whatever it takes to put our players in position to be successful, right? And then that's what we feel like we're doing as a staff. And as a head coach, it's more of the January practice to now, right? That's more of my responsibility to make sure there's enough fuel in the tank at the end of the year. Brazel and Coach Chaney, their job is to tinker and make sure we're making the adjustments on the defense and the offensive end. But we feel like we had a great plan from the start of practice in January through now, and now we're going to see if we can cash in on it.
Right, and with that, I guess what are you telling your guys right before they exit the locker room and get on the field?
The same thing we always say. I mean, this comes down to us, right? And we talk about bringing the juice, high energy, high excitement, and execution. So we're going to talk about doing that. And then from there, you get one shot at it, right? And I think that's the greatest thing about the situation that occurred Saturday is we get an opportunity, and we talked to the guys about it yesterday. We felt like, the decision was what the decision was Saturday based on the clock and everything, but we get an opportunity to right that wrong. You get a chance to rewrite the story. Very few times in life, immediately, do you get a do-over. And this is our opportunity to do that.